Welcome to the Side Action Podcast, the sports gambling show that covers everything in the world of sports betting from A through Z. We'll cover the four major sports, as well as anything and everything in between worth some action, and will increase the size of your bankroll. And here we go.
Welcome to Side Action, episode 30 of season 7. My name is Jim Weglars, aka Wegs. You can follow me at Wegspool on X and on Instagram.
And I'm Coop. You can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper, on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. I almost threw me off because I didn't know if I was supposed to go second or if I was supposed to go third.
So, go second, baby.
We are we're in the flesh. Make sure to check out the TikTok. I always got to make sure that's in there. You know, it's Wegs' child, golden child. So, yeah.
That's what happened when you're an empty nester. You got to have another child, and that's TikTok. That's TikTok. So we have a special guest, a founder, an amazing, handicapping legend. You want to introduce yourself to the new audience of this season?
Yeah, guest indeed. Steve Roberts, aka Action. Happy to sit in here and join you guys, talk a little NCAA tournament hoops.
Yeah, man, it's great to have you back. Obviously, you had your second kid, so congratulations. And
thank you.
You and Melissa, and you got the mustache to prove it. Look at that. You guys got something going over there. You know, Jimmy Wegs is still fresh-faced. I mean, Dalton can grow hair like out of any, place of his body. Jimmy Wegs can't grow a mustache to save his life. So, so what did you guys do this weekend? I had an interesting night last night. Did you do anything fun over the weekend? You went to Ohio, Dalton?
Yeah, I had to go back and do. My grandmother passed away, unfortunately, like in November. So they had like
all the memorial now. Okay.
All like all the furniture and stuff that was in like her, her place was basically just brought over to my aunt's garage and had been sitting there for a while. So we did a little spring cleaning, if you will. So found a bunch of like old pictures and like just going down, the nostalgia and memory lane was always fun. But got back a couple hours ago just in time for the selection show. And we're ready. I've been looking forward to this episode for like 3 or 4 days now. So.
Oh, good. Exciting. How about yourself, Action? Anything fun? Just tending to the children now.
Pretty low key around here. Yeah. With the weather changing, we've been getting outside in the backyard a lot. I picked up a Little Tykes basketball hoop on the neighbor's curb the other day. So nice. We've been shooting a lot of baskets in the yard.
Nice. Getting ready for March Madness in your own way.
That's right.
Well, it's been strange weather here. It was like 71 days of snow today. I mean, tornado watch on Friday. So I did make it to Rivers with Primetime Murphy, who's, by the way, killing it in horse racing. So he's going to do a special horse race episode when I get back from Vegas following next week. So that's exciting. He's been just massacring everywhere. Gulfstream, Irish races. He was recounting everything. So we ended up getting Zach Rainmaker Suter over at Rivers to throw some bones for the first time, teaching him craps. I felt like Steve taught me all those years ago, 5 years ago. Didn't go great, not like the night you had, Steve, and my first night, but it was fun to have him out there and just kind of some warm-up throws for this week before I go back to the Mecca, to Las Vegas. So also did the Chessman Gala last night. Instead of doing St. Patrick's Day, which I love to do, but I went to this gala last night, which is a civic organization in Evanston that raises money for scholarships, including getting Sophia scholarship when she went to college. It was kind of cool to give back some of the guys like Emmanuel, him and some other guys. And of course, as happens with Emmanuel, I was out till about 2 a.m. and I'm still a little hungover, to be honest with you. So good times, a little sluggish today. So, well, we got a big episode, boys. So let's just roll through some of this stuff, some of the new stuff. Action, maybe you've heard the podcast now. We had a couple elements. We go, who was in the shed this week? It's the Coop creation. So, Coop, who are we taking to the shed this week, pal?
Oh, man. Well, I got to start out with whoever put UNC in the tournament bracket.
Oh, God.
I was shocked. I mean, let alone them having a play-in game, which I guess was like the meet in the middle territory, because I'm sure half of them was like, oh, we got to have them in for revenue, and the other side's like, no, this team stinks. Why? Like, they got lucky in the ACC tournament. Like, if Cooper Flag was healthy, that would never been a game. They were down like 24, I think, at one point in that game.
Yeah, they were getting whacked.
So I think money line, because there's people like debating when I was watching. We were watching the UD game Friday night when that was going on. people were like, "Oh, they're plus 20,000. Maybe we should start throwing a little money on them, like in game." And they were almost geniuses. But yeah, they're 1-12 this year against quad one teams, just unbelievable. In the shed. I don't care. They shouldn't be here. Like I would rather have UAB, but you know how this works. NCAA is all about their money. The chairman, which I just learned, is the AD of UNC.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So,
but he was out of the room, Coop. Don't worry. He was out of the room.
I wonder if he employs all those people. I'm sure he's got some swing or something. I don't know. But yeah, anyway, that's the first in the shed. And then the second one is Michigan when the bracket came out to me.
Okay.
The fact that you could definitely tell they do this on Saturday because this team literally just won the Big Ten. And they're slotted behind Purdue and Maryland. And I think there's a couple other Big Ten teams that have better seeding than Michigan. And I mean, Michigan's been pretty decent all year. I mean, they had a stretch there at the end of the season, like 4 or 5 games in a row. They had, I think it was a 3-game stretch, if I'm not mistaken. Yeah. They weren't playing very well, but you look at their shooting percentages, it made sense on why they were losing those games. They couldn't throw the ball in the ocean. So, I think they got a really crappy draw, which we'll get to in here in Club Dub here in just a second. But, yeah, for them to be a 5, I think they got taken to the shed.
I don't disagree with you, dude. I mean, I think that's the one knock on the Big Ten tournament is it's a little too late. They always have this situation where they've kind of already penciled in where they're going to put those teams, regardless of the outcome. It kind of sucks. And I can't disagree with North Carolina. I mean, I was candidly, I guess, it's not on my list of Club Dub teams, but I'm sorry, I'll wait for mine for Club Dub because I will talk about my squad later. But they were going to be the team that didn't make it if they didn't win last night. Like Boise kind of got screwed. I think Boise should have been in the tournament. And I don't know how San Diego State made the tournament. I just don't understand it. They lost in the semis. I think it was the quarters of Mountain West. So it's a flawed system. For me, I've got the Terps. I think that it's not this. I like this team a lot, actually. They can do something in the tournament, but how do they let Donaldson go coast to coast with 4 seconds to go? Stop the ball. Anybody in basketball knows you got to stop the ball. They're still made a tournament. They made a tournament, of course, but I just kind of, gut reaction there. And then going to football, the Steelers. I don't know what this team is doing. I mean, obviously, we know that Russell Wilson wasn't great this year. Fields maybe wasn't the answer, but now you've got Mason Rudolph and Skylar Thompson, and you're begging for Aaron Rodgers to come. I mean, what the hell are they doing? I can't believe it because Mike Tomlin's obviously a solid coach. DK Metcalf does go there, which is pretty interesting, but my God, what a week.
Yeah, imagine all the personal foul penalties that this team is going to have this coming season between the 2 wide receivers. It's going to be great. That's what I'm really looking forward to is who is going to fight who first.
Yeah, exactly. That's they're going to try to see who can get more fines probably on the team. On anything to add, Ash? I know that's not usually your bag, but you got anything that's top of mind for this kind of thing?
I'll double down on the Terps. My bankroll definitely would appreciate a little better defense on that last play. That's for sure.
Yeah, low money line moves. Yeah, I got you. Okay, so for Club Dub, I'll start first. I already started. I'll skip to my second. So the Rams, CSU Rams, we made it. Hey, we won our first Mountain West tournament since 2003. This team's really good. They won 10 straight games. I love this team, and I'm really excited for them. They kind of got screwed, too, because they got a 12 seed. And again, I think they just predicted, hey, well, we're just going to slot them there. They're the best team in the Mountain West by a lot. And it's, they're the worst seed of all those teams. It's weird. But I don't know. It's okay. They took care of business because I'd have been, crying right here and yelling at the committee if they didn't get in, even if they lost to Boise, because they had won 9 straight games. I do think there's some metric flaws, which we could talk about in the tournament segment. So, but welcome, CSU. Come on in. Yeah. Have yourself a time. Go to the Art Murphy Pleasure Lounge and have a good time. And then the Zags, we kind of talked about this before, and I'm a doubter. I've been a doubter most of the season, but they took care of business against the Gales earlier this week, won the WCC championship, and it was kind of not really that close. They kind of dominated the Gales in this game where they had gotten beat twice during the season. So we'll see if they can actually get it done. They did play great defense against St. Mary's. They held them to 1 of 15 from 3-point land, which is unbelievable. So, I'm sorry, 0 for 16. My bad. They only shot 1 of 15. So, Zags, you got a good chance as the 8th seed. Maybe you can, shock the world in round 2.
Yeah, you love a good game. It's both in the 50s. That thing screams college basketball, 58 to 51. Let me tell you.
What about you, Coop? What you got clubbed up?
You know what? I'm glad you asked. So the first one I had was UC San Diego. So they are the first program in NCAA history to have their men's and women's basketball teams qualify for the NCAA tournament in their first year of eligibility.
Look at that.
Yeah, straight from Division II last year, coming up this year, making the turn, if you will. Men's and women's team both won their respective conference. I don't know what conference it is right off the top of my head. Maybe
The Big West. Yeah.
Is it the Big West? Okay, I was thinking maybe the WAC, but I knew either way. So shout out to UC San Diego, and then we got to talk about probably the SEC is probably in Club Dub. That was my second one.
Yeah.
NCAA record 14 teams are going to participate. They haven't had a national championship, they being the SEC, since 2013, or I think it's been 13 years. So what, 2014? Last time it wasn't last time the Gators won. It was when, man, I literally lost it. I had it written down too. But yeah, they haven't won a national championship in 13 years. So maybe this would be the year that, that drought ends. I don't know though. I'm not convinced. It'll happen.
Well, it's a little bit bloated. I mean, we could talk about that in a minute. They get 14 teams, but anytime a league gets 14, actually this is the record, of course, but so many teams, usually they lose half their teams in their first weekend. So it's, it's one of those things. We'll see what happens. Action, anybody for Club Dub?
I got to put Michigan in there. I mean, Dalton mentioned it. They were shooting poorly before they came to Indianapolis. And on Friday night, they just completely flipped the script and went on a nice run through the weekend. I think it's going to set up for them nicely going into this week.
That's awesome. Yeah, they played really well for sure.
Oh, Kentucky was the last SEC champion at 2012, by the way.
Yeah, Calipari, of course. That's not Anthony Davis, is it? It could be. Is it that long ago?
They defeated Kansas in New Orleans. It doesn't give me. I'll keep looking for stats if you want to keep going.
Okay, gotcha. Okay, well, let's go over our picks last week. I have to mention that I didn't put him in Club Dub, even though he deserves it. Dalton is now 8-0 in his last 8 picks in college basketball, so detailing his picks. He went 3-0 last time we did our podcast about 10 days ago, and then I went 2-1. I'm measly 2-1. So good job, Dalton. Well done. You got to crown him. He did have a nice TikTok, which I know you don't watch, but you can see it on my Instagram feed. So, so let's go over those picks. This was still back in the regular season. That's how fast, how many games have happened since then. St. John's took care of business as they've been doing against Marquette on the road. This was, the outright win, 18-2 in the league. They won 86-84. They did need overtime to do it, but they actually rolled to the Big East championship as well. So they look awesome. I really like this St. John's.
They got a good draw too. It'll be interesting to see them in the tourney. They definitely got a favorable draw.
That's right. And then Alabama, this hit on kind of two fronts. Alabama did cover the spread in this one, and they actually won the game outright at Auburn, 93-91. And then, of course, as Dalton loves to do in any Alabama game, go over the total of 177.5. But this one did take overtime to get you there. But congratulations, Dalton. You love those overs on the Tide.
Yeah, anything 180. 180 is the cutoff number in Alabama. Anything under 180, we're taking the over.
True, they just scored. And then the last one was North Carolina Duke. This was funny. That weekend I was with Grandpa watching that game. I'm like, oh, yeah, North Carolina's up like 5 with like 12 minutes to go. This is looking good. 6 actually. Yeah, no. They only scored 10 points the rest of the game. Duke just won by 13. And the total went under, as you called correctly, Dalton. So congratulations.
I'm just glad to hand out some winners. That's all I'm here for.
Got to keep it rolling.
Yeah, right. I was gonna say, we got to quit talking about it. It's like a perfect game. We got to just sit in the dugout. I'm gonna have a Gatorade.
Yeah, exactly. Like Scotty Green yesterday playing volleyball. He won the first 5 games we played volleyball on Saturdays of progression. He's like, I'm 5-0, baby. I'm 5-0. I'm like, what are you saying? Why are you saying that right now? As he's playing with me. Sorry, buddy. So then I gave him his first loss on his team, and he proceeded to lose the next 4 games in a row. So take that, Scotty Green. Let's go over the Ken Palm top 10, which we've been doing. There's not a lot of change except for one important change. Duke is still number 1, but look at Florida, number 2, which doesn't surprise me. This team is just kicking ass and taking names all across the board. They won the SEC tournament today, as well as Houston goes to 3, Auburn at 4, which is kind of surprising because they haven't been playing so good. Tennessee at 5, Alabama 6, Texas Tech at 7, Michigan State 8, Zags at 9, and Iowa State 10. I don't know how they stay there, but the Johnnies are at 11. I know you guys are wondering if St. John's made it. Almost. They're top 11. So, what do you think about this movement action? I know you're a Ken Palmer like me, so you've been tracking us most of the season.
Not really, to be honest with you. But I think that Gonzaga is just a weird outlier there. Ninth in Ken Palm, but they're seated on the 8-9 line. So
Yes.
that is just very odd to me.
It's weird. It's been weird all season, and we've been talking about it. But it's, when I did fade them most of the season, but sometimes it works. But they finished strong against the Gale, so we'll see if maybe they were just playing underneath their ability and actual winning of games.
Yeah. They're like the opposite of St. John's. Like they score and they don't play, like they play half-ass defense, to where St. John's really doesn't score, but they play amazing defense, I feel like.
Yeah, they do, no question. And then just the teams that have been winning money more often than not versus losing money. Florida, 13-2, man. They're just a wrecking crew right now. BYU did fall on their face against Houston, but they've been pretty hot. They're 9-3 now. The Johnnies, as you mentioned, Dalton, they're 9-3-1 now. Michigan State, despite losing, I guess it was yesterday, 10-4-1. UCLA is a weird one. They're 8-3-2. They're always a team you're not sure to do. They didn't play very good against Wisconsin. And then lastly, Clemson is 9-4, although I thought they looked really bad over the weekend, and we could talk about that in a minute. The team's losing money. New Mexico, again, they made the tournament. Congratulations. They're going to be a quick out. They're 2-7. Ole Miss 3-10-1, and then Kansas 4-10-1. So if you've been following the season, this isn't too surprising. Some of these teams, have been doing pretty well or not very well, but it's more against the number here. I mean, Ole Miss is a good team on paper, but they can't cover a goddamn number. So as we go through this today, let's go region by region. I'm not sure if you guys had a big time. I had a little bit of time to go through it a little bit. I was just kind of watching the selection show and typing in the notes here. So we'll go kind of the way they laid it out. We'll start in the South region, Auburn being the number 1 overall seed. We'll go through the top 4 seeds in each region, then a couple of other seeds that I'm looking at. You guys can chip in other ones. And then I looked at some matchups for Thursday and Friday and potentially over the weekend. And then feel free to pick a region winner if you've gotten that far. So let's start with Auburn 1, Michigan State 2 in this region, Iowa State 3, but I know Keyshawn Gilbert is not going to play supposedly. And then the 4 seed is Texas A&M. The teams I not like, or just thinking about besides the top 4 would be Michigan, the 5 seed, 8 seed Louisville, who's one of my futures bet. They got screwed too. 8 seed. I'm like, God damn, they got to play Auburn in the second round. You mentioned the Tritons for the 12 seed here, and the Yale Bulldogs are 13. So who do you guys like in the region? We'll start with you, Dalton.
To win the region, or
just did you have some interesting, obviously you might have other teams you might like, or do any of these guys pique your interest?
I hate to say this, but I think Marquette could be sneaky as a 7
okay.
in this region. Shaka Smart's there, Big East team. I think they've been playing pretty well down the stretch. I think Michigan got hosed. I really like UC San Diego in that first round. I think a lot of people are going to jump on the Yale over Texas A&M upset alert, but I think that's the wrong matchup. I think UC San Diego, and I think there's a line. Michigan's -2.5 in that game right now. So
yeah, they are.
I like that matchup, but I think overall, Auburn got I would say an okay draw. Obviously Michigan State's in this bracket, Iowa State, but they've been banged up since November basically.
Yeah,
so
it seems like they haven't had a full team since Christmas.
I think this is definitely Auburn's bracket to lose. And I think this one feels, outside of maybe the next one, this one feels like the easiest one to kind of predict. I think there's definitely going to be a couple upsets. I think it's going to be early, and then after maybe the second round, you're going to see a lot of chalk after that.
What about yourself, Action? Any other teams that we didn't list or want to go into detail for any of these teams?
I think that Yale could be sneaky good. They should match up well against Texas A&M. They like to get up and down, and I'm not sure Texas A&M is going to be ready for that pace. outside of that, I've been really tracking Michigan State all season long. I think they're really impressive defensively, which is going to carry a lot of weight through March. And of course, Izzo is like famous for never losing in March. So I really think that Michigan State would be my pick in this region.
Okay, a little upset. So when I looked at the matchups, you already kind of mentioned it, Dalton. So Michigan, this is a Thursday game. The two Thursday games I'm highlighting is Michigan versus UC San Diego. TBD on the time. A little weird. I was trying to pull times. I guess the network needs some time to put who's going to be where, what time. So this is, as you said, 2.5-point favorite for Michigan, 141.5-point total. I got to see UC San Diego play a couple games, and they really move the ball. They just pass the ball all the way around the yard. Now, granted, they don't have the size that Michigan has, but I do like the upset here. I'll probably be one of my upset winners from Stadium Swim, yelling and screaming. 2.5, so they're giving deference to the UC San Diego's season, so that's good. And metrically, they're in the top 40, like top 35 or something at Ken Palm. So they're a good squad. I mean, it sounds like you like them, Dalton. You think you get on board action or no?
They're playing in Colorado too, which is interesting. They're
really?
playing in Denver. That Michigan game is going to be in Denver, which I don't know if altitude is going to make a big difference in that game. Obviously, I don't think San Diego's playing any elevation, but just a little nugget there. Go ahead.
I think I haven't seen San Diego play, I got to be honest, but provided Michigan can carry this momentum and hot shooting, it's a Thursday. I like them to win the game.
Yeah, that makes sense. It's just the thing about Michigan and any team that plays in the Big Ten, usually you're playing 3 or 4 games in a row, right? The Tritons got lucky. Yeah. They got bypassed to their semifinals. Only played 2 games to win their conference title, so it's a little pressure maybe.
15 in a row, by the way, for UC San Diego.
It's incredible. They can win. And then they've got A&M. We talked about Yale, and I like the Bulldogs in this game. So even though they're 7.5-point dogs in this one against A&M, 141.5-point total, I kind of like over that total as well. Actually, you mentioned Yale can score, and they actually have some guys they're pretty strong. The A&M is known for being some dudes, really strong dudes inside, play good defense. But I don't know if I can keep up with Yale in this pace. 7.5 is, I love that. I love that number actually.
That's one of the bets I already put in over in the Yale game. I like it.
Yeah, there we go. So Dalton, you like Yale as well, or you said you're backed up Yale? And
I mean, I can understand the reason for liking Yale. I mean, especially the last 5 games of the season. I mean, outside of when they played Princeton, they do score. I mean, they're usually in the 70s or even the 80s and 90s. I don't know. I just think the size might be a little too much. I don't know. Like I said, I just think everybody's going to kind of take the read that Action did, and I think it's a good read. I don't know if I'd jump on that one. I think I'd rather jump on the UC San Diego to just preference, if anything.
Sure. And then I like on Friday, and it's not because I think that Iowa State's going to lose this ball game, but I have not been that impressed with this team. They played really good in a couple games, and the Bison aren't like the greatest team since sliced bread, meaning Lipscomb, but 14.5 seems like a big number for Iowa State to cover here. 143.5-point total on Friday. They're not getting that guy back, which I'm sure is going to be a little deflating for the squad. I mean, this is a team that was kind of sneaky potential Final Four, but now, as you mentioned, Action, it kind of opens the door for Michigan State to come onto the bottom side of this bracket. So, any interest in getting some points here? 14.5 with the Bison. Yeah.
I like going against Iowa State, definitely.
What do you think, Coop? Thought that far about it?
Man, I don't know. I have a future on Iowa State, so you're talking to a guy that has a little bit of skin in the game still, so it's going to be tough for me to punt. But with the injury, I can't remember his name, but I think he was ruled out for the tournament. He's like their second.
Yeah, he was.
I can't remember his name. Yeah, there you go. But yeah, I don't know. I don't want to punt too early. Maybe I'll sell that ticket. But I mean, I could definitely see why you would definitely fade them for sure.
It's one of those things that they're not on like Gonzaga Action. It's a little strange. They've been sitting in the top 10 in Ken Pom for weeks, even though they weren't playing well, weren't winning. So I'm not sure how these metrics work. I know maybe it's per possession versus games. So maybe on a per possession basis, they're still in that top 10. As I see them, I've been able to fade them. BYU a couple times has beaten them. and they're a good scoring team. So I just feel if Lipscomb can get hot, they can definitely stay inside the number. Are there any other games you guys like in this region? I just put down some notes that, did you see any other games you'd be interested in the first round?
I like Louisville over Creighton. I think that, Creighton played pretty well through the Big East tournament, but I think they're overrated. And when they come up against that Louisville squad, they'll not be able to match their physicality.
Yeah, you probably do not know I have a hearty future on Louisville. I was just bummed that they got the 8th seed, but I do like their team a lot. I kind of wish they knew they would beat Duke. I just thought they'd stay in the number. So yeah, I like them against Creighton too.
I think that Louisville.
Go ahead.
I think Louisville can match up with Auburn too in the second round. It's not going to be an easy game for them.
Yeah, I hope so.
I would also say I think this is the one region where one of the play-in games, like this is the best chance for a play-in winner to get to a Sweet 16. Like I think this is because you have the Midwest with Texas and Xavier. I think probably the winner of that game is going to be the first round, but I think the winner of San Diego State and North Carolina would have a pretty good chance against Ole Miss. I like either one of those teams against Ole Miss. I think probably UNC matches up a little better, but I think that team has a good chance of getting to a second round or a Sweet 16 or the best, I guess.
Yeah, well, Ole Miss, you got to fade the spread, so it's a starting point, and you got to figure there's always one team from that first 4-11 matchup, the 11s that play in. They always seem to win a game or two, right? So they always are more dangerous than just winning on whatever Tuesday or Wednesday and then losing the next day. They usually get another game under their belt. So actually, you already mentioned this for the weekend. I do like, that Auburn Louisville game. I'm looking forward to that. That would be a really fun game. If that comes to fruition, and then it may not happen when you get the 12-13, as you mentioned, A&M might escape against Yale or whatever. But you like the San Diego side, or not? You don't like the San Diego side, but I would love to see that 12-13 matchup. You see San Diego and Yale, and then that means one of those teams is in the Sweet 16, and I do like that San Diego team to go there if they do get in that game. So any thoughts on region? It sounds like Action likes Michigan State. I like Auburn. You still like Auburn, Coop?
Yeah, I'd probably fly Auburn here, but I'm telling you, keep your eye on Marquette. I think they're frisky.
Okay.
I think they could be
7.
really frisky. Yeah.
Frisky alert. Okay, let's go to the East now. This is Duke's region. Obviously, Cooper Flaggers, we kind of downplayed this so far. They had the big injury with him, ankle sprain, but then they also had the other guy who dislocated his shoulder. He's not going to play likely. It sounds like Flagg will play according to Shire when he got interviewed, at least after the selection show. So I always say he's 19 years old, so he can sprain an ankle. He'll be back in like a week. So, but they're the number 1 seed. Alabama's the 2. Wisconsin got the 3, as you mentioned. Kind of screwed by Michigan. Wisconsin gets the 3 seed, even though they lose the Big Ten tournament. And then Arizona's the 4 here. Some other interesting teams. I see Oregon as a 5 seed. I love BYU, the 6 seed, but they play VCU, the 11 seed, and then Akron, the Zips are 13. And I like this Montana team, which I've seen play, and they're an amazing shooting team at 14. Do you guys have any teams in this region that you like? Going once.
Go ahead, Coop.
No, I was gonna well, from a historical standpoint, Duke has always played the East region has always been their best region. So whenever they do get slated in the East, they have had their deepest tournament runs, and all their national championship wins have came, I think, from the East region.
Good point.
So just something to keep your eye on there. Obviously, the health of Cooper Flagg is what everybody's going to be paying attention to. But, I mean, I think maybe the most dangerous team is BYU, just because they have the ability to literally outscore anyone at any given time. Yeah. Just the rate that they shoot threes. I mean, they're kind of like an NBA team in that regard. But, I mean, outside of that, it'd be really fun to see, Elite Eight of Duke and Alabama. I mean, because I think you're going to see so contrasting styles there. But, yeah, I think Akron is something that you could really take a look at here, just because Arizona is so streaky. I mean, obviously, we've talked about them on this podcast. They have Caleb Love, who can be, one of the best players in the country, or he could very easily go 4 of 25 shooting from the field one night. So I think there's definitely a lot of value there with Akron. I think they're minus 13.5, if I'm not mistaken, against Arizona. I think you're getting
14.
Okay. I was gonna say I think you're getting great value there. But I mean, outside of that, I think Duke got a pretty good draw. Other than that, so health is
Would
gonna be
agree
the
with
biggest
you.
question. Yeah.
What
I
do you say,
agree.
Ashley?
I think that Flag is probably fine. I'm sure he could have played on Friday night if he had to. And I wouldn't be surprised if he sits out the first round, but I bet he'll be back for the weekend. I just don't see anyone beating Duke in this region, particularly. Alabama doesn't scare me at all. I think Wisconsin could be their biggest formidable threat if they get hot and stay hot.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um, you know, outside of that, I don't see anybody competing with Duke. So I do like Wisconsin, though, to make a little run through their bottom half of the bracket there.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is Duke, and I wrote this in the notes earlier, didn't say it. They're so long. I mean, this team just is. They've got every guy is like 6'6". I mean, it's insane. I mean, they when they played North Carolina both times, and North Carolina made a great run on Friday night, but they just smother you in the lane. And when Flag's in there, obviously he creates offense, but they have plenty of guys to score. So if they play Alabama, they'll be able to run with them. So let's talk about these matchups. We've kind of already alluded to them a little bit. So BYU on Thursday, you got BYU against VCU. VCU, won the A10. Total conflict of styles. I love BYU. They cover numbers, they're amazing, but I'm feeling a little bit more twitchy than I was before they saw this matchup. BYU's 3.5 point favorites here, 143.5 point total. VCU plays great defense. Look, Houston has shut down BYU twice this year. I'm not saying they're the same caliber defense in VCU, but they do, their hallmark is defense. So I'm scared of this one, and I've loved BYU all year. So I probably would go with the dog here. At least maybe not outright win, but 3.5 seems like a good number.
I think it's really interesting that BYU has to play the first round game because they can't play on Sundays. I think that's very interesting. They have to play on Thursday so they can play on Saturday. That way they are not scheduled for a Sunday game. I thought that was very interesting.
I didn't know that. I know that.
Mm-hmm.
Then the other game. Go ahead.
They'll definitely have a rest advantage too with VCU playing this morning or this afternoon. But I agree with you. I think that the dog has to be a look there. Ken Palm projects it at 1.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
There you go. And then the Wisconsin, I know you say you like to make them run. They're going to have a tough time against this Montana team. 17.5 is way too many points for this game. I'm telling you, these teams can fill it up. It's going to be a high-scoring game. I like over in this one, 148.5. I like over. I've seen Montana play a couple nights ago. Of course, Mr. Degenerate Jimmy Wegs was up late trying to make some money. And I'm like, let me watch this game. These guys were just filling it. They hit 7 to 10 in the second half and 3. They obviously were the 2 seed in the Big Sky. So I just think they're going to surprise some people. This is an action. One of the action measures is like, if you want to like a dog, take them in the first half because it'll be like half the line to cover. So I'm probably going to do Montana's first half cover of the spread, which is probably 9 or something, or 8.5 or something like that. So
they're ranked 157th in KenPom, by the way, Montana. So
on defense, yeah.
Well, no, just overall.
Total.
Yeah, that's tough.
Yeah,
Sorry,
they just score. Okay, and then the one on Friday is Akron against Arizona, which we kind of talked about. Arizona's a 14.5 point favorite, 167.5 point total, so a big total in this one. The only thing about Arizona, you mentioned Caleb Love. This team doesn't really shoot 3-point shots as much as most normal college teams now. They're really a 2-point shooting team. So if they do face a Zips team, they can hit the threes. It's a big number, obviously, but I think they can keep it close.
Yeah, and Akron's been hot. They've won 7 in a row. So I think you got to watch out for those mid majors that come in on good winning streaks, and just the vibes are good. They have nothing to lose. So we'll see. I think that's about that's the biggest upset, or that's the one I think that has the best chance of happening in this region, in my opinion.
Yeah. Any thoughts on this matchup, Action?
I like Akron too. I think that's a solid pick. Going against Arizona, especially with numbers that are inflated like that, is always a good bet.
Yeah, Tommy Lloyd is a good recruiter. He has not proven to be a great coach in the NCAA tournament. So he's been known to give it up pretty early for good teams. But I think
I also think that Liberty taking the points with Liberty against
Mm.
Oregon, it was something
Mhm.
that I'm going to look at. I'm not sure they can beat them, but I've been unimpressed with Oregon this season, despite Altman's track record in March. I think it's going to be a
Yeah,
close game.
totally
Okay,
agree.
good to know. Like it. So I didn't put any second round matchups. We kind of have talked that Duke is, probably going to roll in this region, but is there any second round matchups that would be intriguing, I guess? I don't remember
Yeah, you can
the
get
full
BYU,
bracket.
Wisconsin in the second round. That'd be a good
That would be
matchup.
awesome. That'd be awesome.
Also, fun fact: I think I heard on the selection show that Alabama and Vanderbilt could play in the second round, which would be like the first
Mm.
time that the same foe or same teams from the same conference played that early in the. I don't know if it's ever in the tournament or just that early in general. So, fun little fact there. So you could have the SEC kind of eating itself in a way.
Yeah, it will at some point because there's 14 teams. That's gonna. I think there's more than one option here, but yeah, it's
Yeah.
crazy. Okay, well, let's move on to the Midwest.
Wait, is
Oh,
anyone picking anyone besides Duke?
I'm picking Duke. I don't want to. I don't want to pick Duke. Trust me. And Ridgeway's probably
Yeah,
not
take
listening, but
anybody else.
she's very happy. But I don't see. I know you said Wisconsin can make a run, and Alabama was great last year, but this team, as we talked about, plays no defense, and this is not the
Yeah.
same team as last year. And I don't believe in Arizona at all. So unless it's like Oregon shocking the world and beating Duke after winning their first game, and maybe beating Arizona, or maybe they're getting to play somebody else, like Akron. I don't see it happening, dude.
We're getting times in real time, by the way. It shows that
Oh,
Montana
good.
and Wisconsin play at 12:30 on the 20th.
Okay. Okay. So
So
that's like one of the early games.
yeah,
That's
it's
good.
it's literally happening on my phone as you were talking. So
Nice. I'll see that at Stadium Swim. I'll put a little cash, a little cheddar cheese on Montana. Okay, so what about you guys? Is everybody's Duke all the time on the East?
make sure if you're listening to this podcast to put a future on any other team but Duke if you're out there listening, because we're all agreeing that's never a good thing.
You could probably bet the no on Duke at Circa
Yeah.
if you really wanted to.
It's probably plus money, I imagine. No, it's probably still minus money. Okay, so Midwest, you've got Houston. This is their third straight year and as a one seed, and they haven't performed that great so far as a one seed. But their two seed is Tennessee, Kentucky's three, Purdue is four, Clemson is their fifth seed. We've talked about the Zags; they're the eighth seed here. The 11 seed has been mentioned. Texas and Xavier's a playing game, and then 13 seed is High Point, their first time in the dance. They score a lot of points, so. Yeah, honestly, I'm I'm not a huge believer in Houston, but I don't love this region at all. I think it's pretty easy for them, to be honest with you. No offense to your Purdue
Ooh,
Boilers, buddy. They're not very good. And
really?
Kentucky, I don't know, man. I don't think they're that great. And Tennessee, as good as they played in the tournament, they've had, some stinkers. They're definitely a worthy two seed overall, but I thought Houston kind of got a little lucky in this poll.
I concur. I think that this is probably one of the easiest regions. Um, I don't really trust Tennessee at all. Kentucky, I think, is way overseeded. I don't
Mm-hmm.
understand how they got to the 3 line,
I don't
and
either.
Purdue is way down. So honestly, I mean, the real danger team I think in this bracket is going to be Illinois
Yeah.
if they can somehow
Six
get
seed.
through there. But I don't see anybody beating Houston. They actually have an offense this year, which is a bit abnormal.
LJ Cryer.
Yeah.
What do you think, Coop?
This is the region of really good guard play, in my opinion,
Mm-hmm.
because Houston's got really good guards. Gonzaga's got arguably the best guard in the country. Clemson has been in that Ken Palm bubble for since December now, where the
Mm-hmm.
defensive, offensive efficiency.
Yep.
But yeah, I think, it's going to be tough to match Houston's defense with anybody else in this region because, again, if you get the chalk, if you get Tennessee and Houston, that game could be 55-50, literally, to go to the Final Four. So
Mm-hmm.
I just think it's going to be fascinating to watch the guard play in this bracket. But if I had to, I'm with Action. If I had to pick a dark horse, I think I'd go Illinois just because I think when they play at their best, they could be a Final Four team. They've
Mm-hmm.
been kind of streaky as well, but I also like Clemson, just because Clemson made it here, almost went to the Final Four, I believe. I think they got beaten in the Elite Eight last
Elite
year.
Eight. Mm-hmm.
But yeah, they brought back a lot of the same guys, kind of the same core, if you will. So that experience usually pays dividends this time of year. So I think if you don't want to go chalk with Houston, I think if you go 5 or 6 there, I really like High Point in that first round against Purdue. I don't know why. Something calls to me. I don't know if it's because Linnea went to Purdue and I just got to find a reason to disagree with her or what it is. But I don't know. Something tells me I smell a rat. I don't know what it is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, what I would say is, and I mean, I've been negative on the Zags all year, but that second round matchup, I'm skipping ahead, but the second round matchup with the Zags in Houston, that's probably going to be a tough game for them. I mean, it's of the other games, because I think after that it could be easier. But let's talk about the Thursday matchups first. You mentioned Clemson. At least on the selection show, they were all over McNeese State. I don't know if that's true, but Clemson's an 8.5-point favorite there, 133.5-point total. I'm with you, Dalton. The Clemson's been really good, and I like them. We've covered a lot of numbers. They really didn't look good this weekend. I don't know what it was. They played really poorly, so I'm hoping they shake that off. But 8.5 points in 133.5-point games are really good value for the dog. So unless that number changes, I'll probably bet the dog at least on the spread, maybe not for the outright winner. Any thoughts there, guys? Coop.
Like I said, just McNeese has won 11 in a row. They're 10-2 on the road this year. So, I guess I could see a little bit of like why you would kind of feel that way. But the biggest thing to me is that Clemson's just kind of a slower team. I think so to your point with taking the value with the underdog, you're not going to see Clemson run away and hide unless they're just throwing everything in the basket, which I guess could happen, but the chances of it happening are very unlikely. So, I wouldn't hate the underdog in that matchup. I mean, you're getting 8 points basically. So, yeah, I don't hate it, but I don't think it's going to happen.
The only thing that troubles me is I just know that McNeese isn't quite as good as they were last year. So it's like if you're betting on them, are you a little too late to the well? Even though they didn't get it done last year either.
Sure. Yeah, Will Wade is bringing them back. So. And then the Purdue. So go ahead. Let's talk. We have a resident boiler here himself, factions of Purdue guy as well. So I know you probably won't bet against your squad, but maybe you will. 9.5-point favorites against High Point, 54.5-point total. Are you picking against the Boilers here?
Yeah, that was the first bet I made, and it was 10.5 actually at open.
Oh. Okay.
I think High Point is probably one of the worst matchups that we can get in the first round because they shoot it really well, both 2-pointers and 3-pointers, and Purdue just does not play any defense this year. So I think that we're definitely going to be on upset alert.
Yeah, I agree with you there. So on Friday, I've got, you guys mentioned Illinois. They're playing either the Texas or Xavier winner. At the 11, I don't know what time that's set. Hopefully it's not during I'm going to go see a show on Friday night.
8:45. 8:45 p.m. The Illinois game.
That's Central Time?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's perfect.
So 6:45.
I'll be on Pacific time.
Yeah.
So it'll be finishing right when we go into hopefully it doesn't go to overtime. But here, Xavier, I'm not a believer in Xavier. I know they made the tournament. That's fine. They played pretty good. But this Texas team, when they play good, they're really good. And Illinois, I don't know, man. I don't know what team. They're Jekyll and Hyde all season. I do think they have NBA talent, but if they're going to face a rugged Texas team, I think Texas is going to beat them. So that's an upset for me in that 11-6 matchup. Any other games, or what do you think about that one?
I think Xavier actually is the team to worry about. Honestly.
I was going to say that too. I like Xavier over Texas.
Yeah,
okay.
I was going to say.
Okay.
I think if Xavier beats Texas, I think Xavier's got a better chance of beating Illinois and going to a Sweet 16, or even just the second round. But I honestly, I think you just described Texas to me. Like they were the Jekyll and Hyde team to me. Like they were.
Sure.
I mean, Xavier won, I think, their last 8 before they got beat by Marquette, which. They should have beaten Marquette in the Big East tournament. They shit down their leg in the last 2.5 minutes of that game. But yeah, I mean, like I said, Illinois is like when they're playing well, they're a Final Four team. So again, Illinois. They're more battle tested at least.
Are they going to lose by 40 to Duke, or are they going to beat somebody by 20 that you didn't think they were going to win? I mean, it's just I don't know what team to take. I can't bet on a team like that personally. So
that's fair.
Are there any other matchups you guys like in the first couple of days in this region? I
like Georgia over Gonzaga. I bet them, I think 3.5, 4.5. I'm not seeing the current number, but I think that the SEC prowess is going to show in that game.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, Georgia's a team that's been playing really great. I thought they'd do a little better than in the SEC tournament, but yeah, they're a team that I knew they were going to make it after a couple of weeks. I was just like, okay, they're covering numbers. You can see it kind of rolling, and so I hear you.
I really like UCLA over Utah. Utah
Okay,
State.
Utah State.
I think it's 4.5 is what I saw. I think this is I just think Nick Cronin knows how to coach this time of year, and he called everybody soft early in the year, so they definitely know how he feels about them, and they definitely had a big turnaround since that point. And UCLA has been playing well. I mean, they did get beat by Wisconsin in the Big Ten tournament, but before that, I think they'd won like 5 or 6 in a row. So they had been playing well. I think that feels like a pretty good bet to me.
Well, what I will tell you about Mick Cronin is that he doesn't care about the conference tournament. And he said that. He said that going in. So that's why you knew Wisconsin was going to win that basketball game. But he does care about the NCAA tournament. So he's gotten a whole week to prepare for this one. I do like that pick. Utah State's a fugazi team. I mean, it's one of these things. As a Mountain West guy with Colorado State and everybody putting outside the bubble, and the Colorado State's going and like lambasting Utah State and Boise, everybody they're playing, I'm like, why does everybody think these teams that good? I mean, they had a good early conference schedule, and then they just kind of crapped down, the whole rest of the league. So I hear you. Utah State's not a very good basketball team to me.
Yeah, and to your Mountain West point, I think we talked about this already, but San Diego State was the only Mountain West team to have more than one victory against the AP top 25 or USA top 25. So they were 2-1. Every other Mountain West team only had maybe one victory or no victories against the top 25 team. So just maybe something, if you're going to pick a Mountain West team to ride, maybe you do pick San Diego State to ride with.
Well, don't get action started on Mountain West, because one year he faded every Mountain West team, and I don't remember. I think you were 4-1. I think it was the year San Diego State actually went pretty deep, but you had a big weekend if I recall correctly.
Yeah, that they got me one year. That's right. But the year after, I got it back. Don't worry.
Okay, so I talked about Houston Zags being a good potential matchup. Do you think Georgia has any shot against Houston if they took out the Zags against Houston? No way.
No, I don't.
What about any other interesting second round matchups in this division? So that would be, I don't know, if Purdue doesn't make it, I guess it'd be High Point McNeese or High Point Clemson. That's kind of a regional game. It's North Carolina, games.
Well, in the bottom half of the bracket, you could get Kentucky and Tennessee in Indianapolis in the Sweet 16. So that'd be kind of fun. But I still think it's really funny they made Tennessee go to Lexington to play, which I think is going to be so funny because there's going to be so much hatred in there, which I think it'd be really funny if the Kentucky fans just went and watched that game just to boo them the whole time they were playing, but I think that's, other than that, I mean, to Action's point, I think it feels like Houston's going to at least walk to the Elite Eight.
Mm-hmm. I guess so. We don't think so. Any other dark horses? So Houston, yeah. I mean, I just don't believe in them so much, but I've got them obviously in this little prediction sheet here, but it's tough.
UCLA. I mean, I would take a look at UCLA versus Tennessee in that second round matchup.
Mm-hmm.
I'm really not interested in backing Tennessee at all.
Yeah, they played really good the last couple days, but I've seen them have those stinkers, right? It's against good defensive teams. And when push comes to shove, like today, Florida just shuts the door on that offense. Now, their defense is solid for sure. But if you can slow down Ziegler, is that his name? Zakai Ziegler? Yeah. That guy's really good. But if you can somehow keep him out of the lane, a team can't score. They just can't score without him. All right, last region is the West. Florida is the 1 seed, just won the SEC tournament. St. John's is the 2 seed. I kind of feel like they got screwed here because St. John's is really good, and now they take Florida, but whatever. Texas Tech's the 3 seed, Maryland's the 4. It's a really solid group here to me. Memphis is the 5, Drake's the 11 seed, my Rams are the 12 seed. You got Grand Canyon is the 13 seed. So these are teams that are interesting to me. You guys like any other teams in this region?
Go ahead, Coop.
I mean, I kind of disagree with you on St. John's. I think they actually have a good chance to go to the Final Four as far as kind of what they're looking at. But I'm fascinated with John Calipari against Bill Self in the first round. I think that's going to be fascinating, and I think it's even more fascinating. We could get Rick Pitino against John Calipari in the second round if that comes to fruition. That would be a lot of fun.
Yeah.
But I like Drake. Drake's experience. They were here last year. They had I think a school record of 30 wins this year. They get Missouri in the first round. I really think I'm not big on Texas Tech. I mean, I know they've been a good team. I think Drake could stumble their way into the Sweet 16. I really do. If I was going to pick one like no name team to go, I think I'd probably go with Drake. So they really do fascinate.
You love the Drake. You love the Drake.
Yeah, the Bulldog. Well, Drake got canceled like a year and a half ago, so we're just gonna call them the Bulldogs. Maybe I don't know.
Okay. What about you, Action?
Man, I've lost so much on Drake the last couple seasons that I've just completely crossed them off my list. I'm really intrigued at how Connecticut is going to show up. I'm not saying I like them or dislike them at this point, but I just think it's going to be fascinating to see how they perform after the last two championships. Yeah. I like Maryland a lot. I think, they probably should have pulled that game out against Michigan, and had they won today, things could have looked a lot differently in terms of their seeding. So I think that they could be a dark horse in the top there. But I'm with Coop here. I think I like St. John's coming out of this region. Defensively, they're obviously number one, but I saw some things offensively this weekend at Madison Square Garden, and I think it's going to help them in the tournament.
Well, you don't know, maybe. I do hold a future on St. John's, so thank you. It warms my heart to hear that, so I can hold the Jimmy Hedgerton the third in the Final Four. So I'm hoping for that. But I just think Florida's the most complete team, and this team is really friggin' good. They remind me a lot of the UConn teams because they've got waves of guys that are coming off the bench, the depth, and obviously the size. So I don't know. We'll see. I do love St. John's. I just wish they were in a different region. I wish they were in Houston's region, and then they would probably, or even Auburn. I think they could run the table pretty easily. But in the first, we'll talk about the matchups first. So Thursday, we talked about Drake against Missouri. Conflict of styles. Missouri's a 6.5-point favorite. They're 133.5-point total. So I'm going to draw up on action here because you always used to look at the the pace of the game. Drake tries to slow the game to a crawl, but Missouri runs. So this 133.5 seems to think that Drake's going to control the game, which is fascinating. I like the over just because of that, but do you think that makes sense or not?
Typically in these matchups, I think it's the slower paced team that dictates usually. But I mean, Missouri is a whole other animal. They run like I've never seen before. So I think it's possible that they could get the pace going up. I mean, Ken Palm's showing 136, so you got a little wiggle room there based on his projections.
And then I do like that Coop mentioned the Kansas, Arkansas. I mean, Kansas is a 5.5-point favorite. I'm not sure how that's possible. 145.5-point total. I actually think, I'm not saying I'm going to blindly pick Arkansas here, but that everybody in America wants to see Pitino versus Calipari in the second round. So if it doesn't happen, great. But I'm outright upside and definitely spread plus 5.5 for Arkansas. I'm pretty sure that line's going to go down much closer to 2 or 3.5 by game time.
I see mostly 4.5s now, so it's already headed that way.
God damn it!
I was gonna say I see 4.5 as well. But it's like one of those. If UNC got in the tournament, then we're definitely gonna see this matchup in the second round. Come on, the ratings that game would pull for a second round game. Come on, what are we even talking about here?
Yeah, we're not part of the Scripps crowd, as Coop says. We're not part of the Scripps crowd, but
just watch that foul disparity.
Who has the better suit on the sideline? When they play this one. And then, so in Friday, there's some good ones. Obviously, Colorado State plays on Friday, so that's Memphis against Colorado State. Colorado State's actually the favorite here, which tells me everything I got to know, that at least they understand what's going on here. 145.5-point total. They've won 10 straight games now, or maybe it's 11.
That's 10.
They're just crushing it. The Clifford, the kid, their best guard is an NBA prospect. I like this team a lot, so I'm definitely going to pick them to win this game. I was hoping they'd be a dog, but that's okay. And I know Memphis has an injury as well. One of the guys got injured today, so that probably plays into this factor. You guys going to get on board with the Rams, or are you going to shit on the Mountain West again?
I mean, they're listed as a favorite. Definitely tells you something, but I'm not sure I can get there with the Mountain West Conference by their name.
Yeah, I mean they're playing in Washington, which isn't a Seattle, so it might be a little bit of a home game for Colorado. I mean, maybe you can make that argument, but yeah, I mean I'm kind of with Action here. I mean, it's tough to get behind Colorado State. I have a hard time doing it. And Memphis has been hot. They've won I think 6 or 7 in a row. So sorry, they've won 8 in a row. So yeah, I mean just they're getting hot at the right time. You know, I don't know. I'm with you, Action. I have a hard time picking the Rams here.
God damn it, Cam. I was going to get you the Cam the Rams suit to wear. That's okay. And
then it's a good thing because when we all agree, it usually doesn't happen, right? So you want a little disparity.
So you mentioned UConn and Oklahoma. UConn's a 4.5-point favorite, 147.5-point total. I don't believe in UConn. I haven't believed in them all season. I got to see them in Maui. I thought they were garbage, and it didn't prove true. They've had games they've played pretty well. This Oklahoma team, they're playing right at the right time. Porter Moser got him, and this guard Marcus Spears, this dude is legit, freshman. So I'm definitely picking. I mean, it's not a big upset, but 4.5 points. I mean, it's probably down to 2.5 now that I'm talking about it. But I like Oklahoma in that game.
It's still 4.5 is what it's showing on mine.
Yes.
But I think the points are the right play here. I think that's. I don't know if Oklahoma's going to win the game, but they're definitely not as bad as what the record says they are. To your point, they are playing well at the right time. And I think Dan Hurley's going to pull out all the stops, and I think this is about as far as they're going to get. They'll probably win this game, but yeah, I think they're going to know buzzsaw in the second round.
I don't know, man. Oklahoma seems overrated to me. Their 2-point defense is awful. Like one of the worst in Division One. I don't know if Connecticut is set up to take advantage of that. I mean, they don't really have inside presence like they did in years past, but I just have a hard time backing a team that's so poor defensively.
Okay, makes sense. I mean, they do kind of play Ole defense. That's why they lost the tournament game. I think I was going to say
they blew that game against Kentucky, didn't they?
They did. Kentucky. The guy went coast to coast with 1 second or 3 seconds. It was reminiscent of the Michigan take actually, but. All right, and then we've already alluded to it, to get the 2 Godfathers duking it out in the second round would be awesome. St. John's against Arkansas. That's appointment viewing, so that would be on. I guess that's on Friday or no Saturday. So I'm looking forward to that. I'll still be in Vegas for that. I was sticking with Florida. I know that you guys like St. John's, and trust me, I would be very happy to see St. John's get to the Final Four because I can cash some money because Louisville is going to be a long shot at this point, but. So your case is because their defense is, obviously number 1, I think, or number 2 in the whole, country, but the offense is not so great, and Florida's obviously really great. So what's the take against Florida, I guess?
I think they're just going to lock them down defensively. I mean, if they end up playing, obviously there's a long way to get there, but I see it as a lower scoring game. Florida likes to get out and run, and I think that Pitino's going to have a game plan to mitigate what Florida does best and just lock them down defensively, almost give them like the Houston treatment.
Okay.
Yeah, the only thing that scares me with Florida is they can play 2 7-footers at the same time. So that's the only thing that scares me is like the size, but everybody and their brother is on Florida right now, which makes me really hesitant to jump on the Florida bandwagon. Like that's literally it's like the only team everybody's talking about right now. It's like the last 6 weeks is like Florida this, Florida that, Florida, they're amazing. They're they're God's greatest team. They're like UConn of last year and like everything in between. So that's the only thing that makes me get a little hesitant. I think the one team we kind of grazed over too that I think could I think they're a little fugazi is Texas Tech. So I think you could. I don't know a lot about UNC Wilmington, and obviously I doubt they have a chance to beat Texas Tech. I mean, I guess they do have a chance, but I think 15.5 might be too much, and especially when Texas Tech gets to playing tougher competition. I mean, they're 1-5 this year against ranked opponents. So I think that's maybe a good team to fade when it comes to the second round or if they get by that one. So. I mean, I guess Florida is the team though. I don't want to pick them because everybody else is picking them. To be completely honest,
because Jimmy Wegg's picking them. That's good. Well, I will say, we haven't talked at all about Maryland. We just kind of briefly talked about them. I do think they're the best team in the Big Ten. I know that Michigan State gets the prowess and they have a better seed, but I really thought the Terps were playing great down the stretch. And obviously, you said they blew the game against Michigan, but I think they would have taken care of Wisconsin today if they had a chance. So that's certainly going to be a tough matchup in the Sweet 16 for Florida as you get down there. So we'll talk about that maybe next week. But the Terps are good. I really like them. Who's their first round opponent? Who are they playing on the first
Grand
round?
Canyon. They play that Grand Canyon team.
Which
the only thing,
3 straight appearances for Grand Canyon, I think.
That's Bryce Drew. Bryce Drew's the coach there.
Maryland's really good. The problem they have is their depth. I mean, they really only go like 6 or 7 deep. And I think like as you get into the tournament, the second game each weekend is really going to be where they might get nipped. So got to keep an eye out for that.
Yeah,
gotcha.
They're 5-5 against ranked teams this year. The only thing that kind of I guess would scare you a little bit is they're 500 on the road. They're 5-5. So I don't know if that's got to do anything with, like, to your point with the depth, but being NCAA tournament, it's always going to be road games. So just something to kind of watch there as well.
Okay, well, it sounds like you guys got St. John's coming out of the region. I got Florida. If we go ahead.
I have one final point on St. John's. RJ, I mean, in the tournament, you need a guy that can just carry you and get buckets. And that's RJ Lewis. I mean, he was phenomenal all weekend. And so I think that was another reason that I want to back them.
Yeah, and trust me, I'm going to back them. I've already backed them. So I'll be very happy when they get to that point. I might even hedge Jimmy Hedgerton in the Elite Eight, which isn't probably likely and smart, but why not if it's going against Florida? If I end up doing a ticket, I probably won't do a ticket on Florida. Maybe just roll money lines or something like that, which is takes time.
And they're 5-1 against ranked teams this year. St. John's is so yeah, they're battle tested.
I know. I've been talking about them for weeks. You know that they're close to my heart. Now I'm like watching Florida like for the last and they're 13-2 against the spread, man. They're just fucking massacring it. I mean, it's just like they can't be stopped. So. Yeah. Good teams win, great teams cover. Did we talk about this before? So, okay. So if we talk about and I know it's very early, we can always revise another episode. Action can message me, but it looks like I like Florida over Duke here. I do think Duke is going to get there. I don't know. It looks like you got other plans. Action. What's your finals here?
I'm really on Houston this year. They still have the defense, and like I said, they finally have an offense to go with it. And so I think that Kelvin Sampson has proven his coaching ability time over time, although they always seem to fizzle out in the Elite Eight. I think that they're going to get over the hump this year, make it to the Final Four, and beat Duke in the Final Four and win the championship over St. John's.
There you go. Defense on defense. Coop, you have any thoughts here?
Well, my Final Four was Iowa State, Florida, Duke, and Clemson. So that's what I came down to, and I took Clemson. I'm taking Clemson. Okay. I think Clemson's going to do it. I don't know why. I can't really tell you why. They do meet the Ken Palm requirements of being in that bubble, so they're definitely one of those teams. And again, I think the kind of showing they had in the ACC tournament, they didn't play that well. Usually, I think the older teams, to your point with Nick Cronin, I think maybe they either A, just mailed it in, or B, they got embarrassed, which I think is even more motivation for them to play better in the tournament. And again, just that age factor, I think that's another big thing. I think that's another reason why I like Auburn too, even though they're not in my Final Four. But it just that age factor. I think I said to you that the stat that like the average starting age for the Thunder is actually lower than what the starting average age is for the Auburn Tigers this year, which is just insane. But yeah, I don't know. I'm going Clemson. I don't know why. I'm probably wrong, but that's okay. We're all going to be wrong, right? So.
Right. And you obviously can change it before Thursday. That's the whole beauty of it. Yeah. So that's good. All right. Thanks for sharing. Well, who do you have winning it though? Did you say would you have winning it? Clemson winning it all?
Yeah, I got Clemson winning.
Wow.
All. Yeah.
You might want to put a little future cheddar cheese on that because that's probably a good number right now. Probably the 20. I'm serious. Probably 20-1 or something like that. If I had to guess.
I will confirm with you.
So just a little plug. Not that it's open to everybody, but I get to play in Action's player pool, which is a really cool format. It's different than other pools like mine. The Wegs pool's fine. Get some upset points, but in this player pool, we get to draft players, and obviously it's based on the points they score throughout the tournament. So it's almost like a pseudo bracket. You got to have guys who last longer in the tournament. So how long you been doing that, actually?
Oh man, since 2013, easy. Maybe longer than that. 2007, 2008. Lost
Yeah,
track.
that's awesome. It's a good one. And some nice trash talking when Cole is at the top. He likes to chirp a lot. There's some other guys that say some things. So our draft's on Tuesday. I gotta polish up some things.
Two things on that. First question is if you pick first in that, do you dare pick Cooper Flag? Because you don't know how many games he's gonna miss. That's a tough question. That's why my brain went first. And secondly, you get Clemson at 65-1 right now. So
65 sounds like you need to take Clemson at 65 to win, sir. That's a good number, man. That's better than my numbers. I mean, Louisville had 50-1 or something. So, yeah. Okay, yeah, we do that draft on Tuesday, and then obviously I'm headed out to Vegas Wednesday afternoon. I'll be out there for the evening, meeting Dempsey, night ranger out there, and he's gonna be with me at Stadium Swim on Thursday. Get this though, new update. Art Primetime Murphy is flying in on Friday. He's gonna do his skin check, and then he's gonna fly out to Vegas for Friday night. I even got him a ticket to the burlesque show we're going to as a group. So.
Nice.
My friend's doing the burlesque show, and then then I fly back on the red eye Saturday night. So just trying to take a little respite from work. It's been a little stressful, but I'm looking forward to it. And I mean, I guess it's been 4 years since we went to that first trip of March Madness, right? Actually, it was 2021 when they first opened Stadium Swim, and everybody teases me by my video and obviously how shit-faced I was in my face. But hey, good times. Looking forward to it.
Is your friend in the burlesque show, or did your friend book the burlesque show?
She's in the burlesque show. In the burlesque show. She's a professional dancer. So, and she's been doing it for a couple years now. Well, about 18 months, I guess. I just haven't been able to see the show. Because when I went out there the first time, it didn't go up yet till October. And then when we came back last year, they were not in the show again. It's like, oh, okay. So I keep missing it. So this time I'm in. I'm like, lock it in. We got a whole table. We got 6 people because Dave Strickland from Arizona is going, and obviously Prime, Dempsey, and then my brother-in-law and my sister. So,
nice.
Where is the show?
It's at Venetian. It's at the Voltaire Theater in Venetian. Nice. So, my thing. I like Friday night at Venetian. So we'll probably go to the show and roll after at like 11. Hit those tables, which are a favorite of mine and yours as well. So.
Nice.
What do you guys do for the games this week?
I'm going to be sitting right here. I got a couple of TVs lined up right next to my desk. So a little work, little game here in the office, home office.
Nice.
Yeah.
You do anything
we're moving Friday, or sorry, we're moving Saturday. So I mean, like, I took a couple days, but yeah, I just figured I've got actions. I don't have that. I think I'll probably have 2 screens set up. I'll probably have like the computer and the television going on, and so maybe 3 with the phone if you want to include that. But yeah, definitely just take it. This is the best time of the year, right? This is outside of like the NFL playoffs and all, everything going on. This is arguably the best time of the year. So yeah, enjoy the basketball. Take it all in. It's the best gambling days of the year, at least, for sure.
No question. It's also great to be in the regular time zones. When last year I was in Hawaii, it was all messed up. I woke up and it was I already missed like 3 games or something, and I'm like, what? So weird. But so I'm back on the mainland, as they say. So
nice. Yeah, I was gonna say 8 a.m. when you get up. It's gonna be great to have basketball on. I guess it'd be like 9 a.m. right? Because it's like
it's 9. Yeah, we get to the pool
9:10.
9:10.
Hell yeah.
9:10. Yeah, we won't probably get, because we did general admission this time for Stadium Swim. So Dempsey might get there early. I don't think he's staying at he's not staying at Stadium Swim this time, or at Circa this time. So one time he got to get advanced seats for us. It's fine. I'm good sitting in the pool or whatever, doing our thing and checking things out. So
have you checked the weather yet? How's it looking?
It's only getting up to 70, which that's not great, but it's fine. It's all good.
It's
pool's
heated.
heated.
It'll be fine.
Pool's heated. The bets are going to be hot. The tables will be hot. That's all we're looking for. So
there it is.
All right. Well, follow us at Side Action Pod on X and Side Action Podcast on Instagram. Don't forget about TikTok. Follow me at Wegspool on X and on Instagram.
And you can check me on Instagram at Dalton Cooper or on X at Mr. Grumpy Gills. Again, we are the Side Action Podcast. If you do anything the next 7 days, make sure to follow us on TikTok. It'll make Wegs so happy.
They will.
Yeah, and I mean, Action, it's good to have you. We should throuple more often. This is probably my favorite throuple that I've ever been a part of. I will say that.
Wow, I was glad I was able to join you guys, and I appreciate you having me back on. You can follow me on X at 31sroberts.
Hell yeah.
That's right. Yeah, it was good to have him on. Actually, it's great to have you back. Obviously, he's been busy with families and stuff. But guess what? We're gonna have prime time on here pretty soon. So I know you're gonna be listening to the horse racing that he's gonna put on in like a week and a half. So he promises to do it. We've been trying to do it for 7 seasons, trying to get him on here. He finally is. Now that he's on like the biggest hot streak of his life, I guess he's willing to do it. So
good timing.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
Love you guys.
That's a wrap for this episode of the Side Action Podcast. We appreciate all of your listens and thank you for joining us. We'll see you all again next week on Thursday for some more hot picks and side action. Side Action Podcast, its owners and associates take no responsibility for the opinions or statements made by the show hosts or their guests. Statements or show topics are not necessarily the beliefs of this podcast, and opinions between talk show hosts may conflict. Individuals following the advice given on the podcast accept their own risk of losses from wagers made. As the Side Action Podcast, its owners, hosts, associates, or guests will not guarantee any advice given. The opinions and advice given on the Side Action Podcast is for entertainment purposes only. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER. Intro and outro and transition music credits. Song titles Jerry 5 and District 4 by Kevin MacLeod at incompetech.org. Licensed under Creative Commons Attribution 3.0. creativecommons.org/licenses/by 3.0.